Hello and welcome to the second class of Achieving Greatness. I'm so happy to join you here today. And by way of an introduction, we'll just recap very briefly what we touched on last week. Last week, by way of our first class, we saw two very simple ideas. Very simple. Number one is that the Jewish tradition has within its wisdom the idea that each and every one of us is the epic hero of our own story. And the reason we connect so deeply to hero narratives, whether they be in classic literature or even popular culture, is because deep down within each of us, we have the sense, even perhaps a longing maybe, that we too are destined for greatness. We too have something within inside of us that can create us as our own hero. And we indeed are called upon to achieve that particular glory, if you wish, in this world by playing our role, living up to our greatest potential. That was the first idea that we looked at. This is by way of summary of last week. And the second idea is that in order to achieve that potential, we need to be prepared to overcome many challenges that we will encounter throughout our lives. Okay, that is a summary. And now let us begin class 2. Excuse me. I think the reason that we have this sense within of the cosmic importance of each person is because we realize we are utterly, totally unique. We forget that truth. We see only what our eyes see on the surface. We usually notice, outstanding talents and abilities in other people, but we generally overlook our own talents and abilities. We generally overlook the successes that we have had. When it comes to ourselves, we play down what it is that we're capable of. If only we could have the right eyes to see. If only we could see things as they really are. And our tradition actually helps us to see things differently. Our tradition teaches us that each of us is unique, for else otherwise, why would we even be here? And it's with this introduction, I'm going to tell you a story. If you're sitting comfortably, then I'll begin. It's a famous story. It's apparently a true story. Maybe you've heard it before. It's a story that takes place in Krakow. In Krakow, there is a shul called the Isaac Shul. Has anybody here heard of the Isaac Shul? It's a big, big shul. And like most good shuls, it has a legend behind it. Here is the legend. It says that Isaac, simple man living in Krakow, a builder by trade, was haunted by the same dream over and over and over again. The dream went as follows: that across Europe, in Prague, there was a particular bridge, and underneath this bridge was buried a treasure. And whoever unearthed this treasure under the bridge in Prague would be able to keep the treasure and become fabulously rich. And this dream, over and over again, plagues Isaac. At first, he dismisses it as a dream and it's just absurd, but sooner or later, he becomes obsessed and he can hardly sleep at night. And he tells his wife this crazy dream. And then, once and for all, he decides, that's it, I can't take it anymore. I must up and go to Prague. I'm going to find the bridge. I'm going to dig underneath it. I'm going to find that treasure. And so one day, with his meager provisions, he sets out for Prague. Amazingly, Isaac was fortunate enough to reach his destination. And as he's there riding on his wagon, in front of him, he sees a sight that he absolutely recognizes. It's the bridge in his dreams. And the only problem is, and this he didn't know, is that the bridge was guarded by a number of patrols, and there were police always walking, taking shifts, and there was no way he would be able to get near that bridge, and certainly no way he'd be able to start digging underneath it. For a while, he started loitering around near the bridge until finally one of the patrols approached him and said, "Why are you constantly hanging around this place? You must be a thief. You must be a spy. What do you want here?" And Isaac said, "Please, please, you've got it all wrong. I'm a simple, ordinary person, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been having a dream, and I can't shake this dream. The dream is of a bridge in Prague, and underneath the bridge is buried a treasure. And so I left my home and traveled all the way across Europe to dig underneath this bridge." And when Isaac had finished telling the story, the policeman laughed at him and said, "You fool, why on earth would you make such a journey to follow your dreams? Do you think I would be mad enough to do the same? For after all, I too have a dream. And in my dream, night after night, I dream that in the backyard of a simple Jew in Krakow, a man named Isaac has a treasure hidden in his garden. But you don't see me traveling across Europe." And at that point, Isaac realized that the man had described him, the policeman had described his own garden. And with that news, he made the trek all the way back home to Krakow, went into his garden, and as his wife met him, she said, "No, so where's the treasure? Where's the treasure?" And he turned to his wife and he said, "The treasure is buried right back home in our own backyard. The treasure I was looking for was here all along." That's the story. That's the legend. And any good tour guide worth their salt, when they come to Krakow and they stand outside the Isaac Shore, will tell this story. But I want to draw a message from this story. It's a great story in and of itself, but I think the message, it's singular and it's clear. We might have dreams, but do we ever act upon following through to try to achieve them? Sometimes yes, perhaps most of the time no. And if not, why not? And today's class is going to look at precisely that. To believe that the treasure we are searching for is actually inside of ourselves. We don't have to go searching far and wide. What we need is in our own backyard. It's our own potentials, our own abilities, our own strengths, our own power. And so with this, I'm going to begin our class today. And I want to share with you that I'm going to be giving a very simple source sheet. I'm not going to be presenting something particularly complicated. I'm not going to be presenting ideas that maybe you haven't even heard before. I'm going to be presenting to you something which I believe deep down you already know. You already know. So let's begin. We have a quote from Rabbi Abraham Twersky. Can you see my screen okay? Is that all right? You're able to see my screen? I'll make it a bit bigger. And Rabbi Twersky says the following. He says, "Neither wealth, fame, prestige, or anything external can give us more than a fleeting sense of satisfaction. As corny as it sounds, the only true lasting happiness is within ourselves, which sadly is too often the last place any of us look for it." It's a great quote. Excuse me. As always, if you email me after the class or at the end, you put in the chat bar your email address, I'll happily send you this source sheet. Okay? This is for your benefit, not for mine, and I'm happy to share it. So let us begin. Did you know that in Judaism, once a month, we have a blessing that we make over the renewal of the moon? Did you know this? It is called the sanctification of the moon. And Judaism really is a religion about wonder. it's a religion about the ability to take what's in front of our eyes and appreciate the ordinary. That, in a nutshell, really is what Judaism is all about. And so the rabbis of old, noticing the natural world around them, came across one of the great wonders of nature. They saw that every 30 days, the moon would wax and then wane. It would start to grow bigger and then start to disappear. And no matter how many times they looked up at the sky, the same pattern repeated again and again and again. The moon waxing and then the moon waning until it eventually, at the end of the month, went completely out of sight. And when that first sliver of a new moon was found in the sky, the rabbis decreed that we should say a blessing. We should say a blessing for how wondrous is God's creation. He made the sun, the moon, the stars, all of the hosts of heaven. And we should be appreciative for this natural phenomena called the moon and the moon's cycle. Fascinating. I want to look at the blessing that we say over the new moon. So if you are aware, we just had a new moon. We just started the month of Adar. So if you look up in the sky, you might see a small sliver. Let's take a look. Says the blessing, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you, God, Asher b'ma'amaro bara shahakim u'baruch piv kol sava'am, who with the utterance created the heavens, and with the breath of his mouth their entire legion. Hokuzman natan lahem, a decree and a schedule did you give them. Shelo yeshanu et tafkidam. They should never alter from their assigned tasks. The moon's always up in the sky. The sun is always up in the sky. The stars are always up in the sky. They never alter. Sasim v'smeichim la'asot ratzon konam. They are joyous and glad to perform the will of their creator. Now, on one level, you might just think, okay, this is poetic. They're joyous and glad to perform the will of their creator. I mean, at the end of the day, the moon is just the rock. The sun, it's a ball of fire. I mean, let's get scientific for a moment. They're really happy. They're joyous. They're glad. It's the moon. It's the sun. What do you mean they're happy and glad? And look at this interpretation. There is a beautiful interpretation why it should be that the sun, the moon, the stars are all happy and glad to perform their particular role, to perform their tasks and duties in this world. Look at the interpretation. This is in number 2, taken from the Art Scroll Siddur. On the words, a decree and a schedule, did he give them? That's the part of the blessing. They comment as follows. After creating the heavenly bodies, God set them in their specified orbits, giving each an unchangeable role in the cosmos. Okay, fine. That's a decree and a schedule. The moon has its orbit. The stars, their unchangeable role. Why are they joyous and glad? Listen to this. This is incredible. Despite the apparent tedium of their permanently assigned tasks, the heavenly bodies joyously serve their Maker because they know that by doing his will, they have a role in creation. This is a lesson for humankind to revel in their opportunity to serve God.
Wow.
What are the stars and the sun and the moon? What are they doing? They're performing the tasks with which their creator intended for them. They are literally performing their destiny. And yet the blessing says that they are happy. The moon, the sun, the stars, they're joyful. They are so happy because they are playing the role that they were destined to play. And as a result of that, they are serving their Maker. Now, friends, I'm not talking about the moon and the sun anymore. You know who I'm talking about? I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about us. All of us are really the sun and the moon and the stars. We have a role to play. We were created for a purpose. And when we perform and execute and fulfill the potential of our very being, there is no greater joy. There is no greater pleasure. There is no greater fulfillment. There's a word that we use so much. Oh, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't find this fulfilling. This isn't giving me the fulfillment I was hoping it. You know what really and only can fulfill us? When we play the role that we were born to achieve.
How do we know? How do we know it's supposed to? What is our role?
Irene, you've asked the $64 million question. How
Yeah.
do we know our role?
I don't
And
know. I don't know what's my purpose, why I was created. So
And
what
the
is
answer to that question, Irene, is as follows. A person is required to look inside themselves and ask, what are my strengths? What are my talents? What am I good at? What can I do that other people can't do? And now let me look at my immediate surroundings, my home, my family, my community. How can I bring where what I am good at, meeting what needs to be fixed, that is where God wants you to be. I'll say that again.
I got it.
Where your talents meet what needs to get done, that is where God wants you to be.
Interesting.
Now, this takes a lot of inner work. There's no cookie cutter answer sheet. I wish I could say, you do this, you do this, you. It doesn't work that way. Why? For the precise reason of our uniqueness. And sometimes we need to discover it for ourselves. What can only I bring to this world? What can only I do? What can I offer? Where do my talents lie?
But there is no such thing as only. Everything I can do, a lot of other people can do. So I don't
Wrong.
understand only
That's
I.
wrong. Irene, you are unique.
I don't
Preciously
get that.
unique.
I don't get that. I am not a Shakespeare. I am not a Rimsky-Korsakov.
I'm not saying a world genius. Shakespeare could change the world. Freud changed the world. You don't have to be Freud. You don't have to be Shakespeare, but you need to be Irene Roth. And when you, with your unique, no one can do what you can do, Irene.
That I don't understand.
So let me try to explain.
Yeah, explain it. There is nothing I can do that nobody else. Everybody, a lot of people can do whatever I do. So unique.
So let me go deeper.
So unique.
Your uniqueness lies not in what you can do. Your uniqueness lies in what you can achieve. And the difference there is as follows. Do you have family, Irene? Do you have friends? Do you have a community? Do you have people that you interact with? Might there just be one person in IGA that's at the cash that you might be able to smile at tomorrow when you next go shopping? There is something profoundly unique about your life, your situation, your relationships that only you can affect. Now, on a micro level, a person might just be able to impact their siblings, their children, their grandchildren, if they have. Could just be the person in the store, in the shop.
You also mentioned that moon and the sun were joyous because serving God.
Yes.
Because serving God. I have very, very, very Haredi religious grandchildren. They believe that the purpose in life is to serve God. I have a problem with that. My purpose in life to serve God. Can you, as a rabbi, because you have that
But you're
concept.
asking the right question today, because we're going to see that in the duration of this class, we're going to come and answer that question. What does it
That's
mean to serve God?
No, is it my
That's
purpose?
precise.
Yeah.
Is serving God all of Judaism? And if so, how and what does that mean?
Right.
Let's take a look. But before we go there, I want to study Pirkei Avot with you, the ethics of our fathers. This is a tractate of Mishnah, and we come to a statement of Ben Azai. Irene, I'm going to get back to you. And if at the end of the class you say I didn't answer your question, let me know.
No, I don't want to. It's important. Sorry to disrupt. It's okay. I'm listening.
You're not disrupting. You're a perfect student, actually. You're asking questions. I need people to ask me questions. This isn't me talking for an hour. Interrupt me. Ask me questions. I love that. I love that. It's important. It's the only way we learn. Okay, number 3. Hu haya omer. He used to say, the rabbi we're talking about here, his name, he had a funny name. His name was Ben Azai. Ben Azai was a rabbi from the time of the Mishnah, and he had the following statement he would repeat over and over and over again. Ein lacha adam she'ein lo sha'ah. There is no person who does not have their hour. Ve'ein lacha davar she'ein lo makom. And there is no thing that does not have its place.
Very profound. I don't understand the word.
Let's read it again. Let's read it again. Ben Azai would say, Ein lacha adam she'ein lo sha'ah. There is no person who does not have their hour. You know, in life, everyone is on a circle, a wheel, if you like. And sometimes that wheel is at the top, and sometimes that wheel is at the bottom. Unfortunately, that's the nature of life. We have great highs and also, unfortunately, great lows. For every simcha that you can imagine, every moment of joy, there's also a moment of sadness, maybe more than one. This is what life is, the combination of ups and downs. Now, if a person is particularly down on their luck, everything's going wrong for them, they never can seem to succeed, everything that they put their hand to just fails. A person might turn around and say, what do I have to offer? What do I have to offer? You know, there's a beautiful poem that was written in the 12th century by Abraham Ibn Ezra. Have you heard of this name, Ibn Ezra? He's a famous Torah commentator. He wrote a commentary on the Torah. And he writes a poem. Now, to understand this poem, he was extremely unsuccessful in business. And whatever he did, he failed. And he was poor. He writes a poem about his business failure. It's like one of those woe is me type poems. And he said, there's a line, it's such a beautiful line. He says, what on earth am I possibly going to do in business? If I started selling candles, the sun would never set. That's how unlucky I am. If I went to become part of the Chevra Kadisha and started selling coffins, no one would ever die.
That's good.
So, you know, if you're the Ibn Ezra, if you feel like I just can't succeed at anything, everything I touch is lousy. I try this, doesn't work. Relationships, they sour. Try to create. I'm unlucky in love. I'm unlucky in business. I'm unlucky in money. I'm unlucky in relationship. I'm unlucky with my kid. Everything I'm unlucky about. Says Ben Azai, don't give up. No matter what circumstances in life, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. Ein lacha adam she'ein lo sha'ah. You never have a person that doesn't have their moment to shine in the sun. Each and every one of us, whoever we are, wherever we are up to in our lives, we will all have our moments. We all have our moments.
Oh, that's
Don't
good.
lose hope. Don't give up.
Yes, that's good. That's
And no
good.
matter what thing you might find, no matter what object there is, there's no object that doesn't have its usage, that doesn't have its place. Everything has its place. Profound idea, beautiful idea. But remember, who am I talking to? You. I'm talking to you right now. You have your hour. You have your moment. You have your role to play in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second part, there is nothing that doesn't have its place.
Everything has its usage. Everything, every physical
Oh,
object, everything,
oh,
literally, a davar in Hebrew is a thing, is an object.
okay. That
Ein
has its
lecha davar she'ein lo makom. There is no, here they put nothing, but there's no thing. The original word nothing. No thing. There is no thing that doesn't have its place.
It means that everything for reason, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Yeah, clear. Now I understood. Thank you. Very good.
So I want now to go a lot deeper with you. I want now to go a lot deeper with you. I want to share with you something amazing. Are you ready for me to give you the keys to the kingdom? Because
Yeah.
after this, you'll say, I figured out life. I know everything there is to know about life now.
Yeah,
I was
purpose
waiting.
serving God. I
I
wanted
was
that service to service the purpose of life to serve God besides learning Torah and the mitzvahs.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the purpose of. Are you ready for this, Irene? I'm going to give you the purpose
Yeah.
of life itself. Ask me for the source sheet afterwards. I want you to print it out. I want you to stick this on your fridge.
Use it.
Put this next to your bedside table. You wake up in the morning, you read this. You go to the
After
fridge, you read this.
I want to.
Okay, here we go. This is amazing. We're going to go level 2. This is a bit deeper now. I'm going to take you all the way to 15th century Holland. 15th century Holland, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. You can even hear it sounds like a Dutch name, right? Luzzatto,
Italians to me sounds Italian.
Italian. He
That's-
ran away from Italy. Okay, I'll
Okay.
give you 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute of a biography. Born in Italy, he was a
Right.
child prodigy, became a Kabbalist at a young age, and was chased out of Italy by his home community because they shunned the study of Kabbalah. And he was such a genius, he was publicly teaching Kabbalah in his 20s. He will pass away at the age of 39,
Oy.
amazingly, and he will have left a library of works behind him. Such a prodigious writer he was. And his works today are among some of the greatest studied works of Judaism. He will live in Holland and he will make his parnassa as a diamond polisher.
Yeah, well, it started. Today
Amazing.
Yes,
Amazing biography. There are biographies written on him. You want to learn more, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Okay. He writes a book called Derech Hashem, The Way of God. Derech Hashem, The Way of God. You can get this translated into English as well. Look what he says. I'll read it in the English. Okay, let's read the English. Good and evil were created within this world, and a human is placed between them. I'll say that again. Good and evil were created within this world,
and the man
and
is playing.
humankind is placed between them. A person's task, in a general way, is to choose good over evil. God's wisdom, however, has distributed various aspects of this test of choosing good over evil, amongst the individual members of humanity. So that each individual has their own share in the battle between good and evil. This is their assignment and responsibility in this world. And within its framework, they must strive for success. Through everyone's efforts together, all of the necessary work will be carried out. This is very deep. This is very important. Let's read it again. Okay, I want to read this again. This is very, very important. Let's start again. Good and evil were created within this world. Okay, so far so good. And a person is placed between them. And man's task in a general way is to choose good over evil. What this world is a world of choice. And the choices we make are never neutral. Chicken or beef, when the air steward says chicken or beef, that's not a choice. That's called a decision. Decisions have no consequences.
Interesting.
Blue tablecloth, pink tablecloth, that's a decision. Decisions have no consequence. Choice is between good and evil. There's a world of difference between a decision and a choice. Are you with me?
Thank you. It's a beautiful metaphor, beef and
And
chicken.
a human being is placed inside this world where we are perfectly between good and evil. And we have to choose. And we have to choose. Let's go further. God's wisdom distributed various aspects of this test amongst the individual members of humanity, so that each individual has their own share in the battle between good and evil. And we pause there. Each individual has their own share in the battle between good and evil. Do you know what this means? What this means is that your battle is not somebody else's battle.
Right.
You know, the subtitle to this course was Achieving Greatness and Realizing Not to Ever Need to Be Jealous of Somebody Else. You can start to see and hear the corollary of understanding ourselves and the follow-on knock-on effect of never being jealous. Leave that to one side. If I lost you with that, don't worry. Your struggles are not your neighbor's struggles, and vice versa. You know, there's an old famous Yiddish saying or story that says that if everyone was to put their troubles into a pile in the middle, and you saw what everybody else's troubles were, and then you had to go and choose one,
Go for yours.
you would go and choose your own troubles. Because on the surface, I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time, my life is hard, and I look at they have a charmed life, and they're just perfect, and those people are beautiful, and those people are just delicious, and those people are so good, and the others have it so easy. Who has the hard time? I'm the only one with a hard time. If only people knew about my dark little secret and the struggles I'm struggling with, I'm the only one with a hard. It's not true. It's not true. The way that we feel that we struggle, and sometimes profoundly so, every single other person is also struggling with their little pekala of sorrows. And if we were to put them all in a pile in the middle and we saw everybody else's, we would always choose our own. Our struggles are unique. Our struggles are ours. And this is their assignment and responsibility in this world. What is the purpose of life? This struggle. This is what it means to serve God. This is what it means to be a human being. This is what it means to be alive. To strive for success. And when every single person throughout all of human history has put in their effort, the necessary work will have been carried out to have achieved this world as a whole reaching its potential. By the way, just like a human can reach their potential, so too can planet Earth. So too can Project Humanity reach its potential. A human is a microcosm of the world. And vice versa, the world is a macrocosm of a human being. This is the keys to the kingdom. Irene, I've answered your question. This is everything. This is everything.
Right, but there is so much bad in this world. Such a
Oh,
lot of things.
you thought it was going to be easy? It's
That's what
hard. It's hard work. It's a slog. We come out the other end sweating and bleeding and crying.
the
To the
trouble.
degree that it's given to us on a platter, we haven't really achieved anything. It's only when we struggle. This was what I said last week. Do you remember the analogy of the lobster struggling out of its shell when it grows too big? It's only the struggle that we grow.
Only the struggle that we grow. That's difficult to see.
It's very difficult, but we only grow through adversity. I spoke about this a lot last week.
I remember it's interesting metaphor you gave between decision and choice, because I like that chicken
You like
and beef
that? Okay, good.
very much. I will use it. I will use with
Good.
other people.
Let's go further. If you're with me, everyone's with me so far?
Yeah.
You good? Okay.
The very
The
foundation.
same author, by the way, the same author, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto.
Yeah.
Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. If you take the Resh of Rabbi and the Mem of Moshe and the Chet of Chaim and the Lamed of Luzzatto, you get the acronym Ramchal. See this word Ramchal?
Oh,
Ramchal is just an acronym.
Rabbi
You know how
Moshe.
Judaism likes acronyms. Ramchal is Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. Okay, so we call him the Ramchal for short because too wordy. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. The Ramchal wrote another book, The Path of the Just. He wrote another book. Look how he begins chapter 1 of this book. The very foundation of piety and the root of divine service is the clarification of one's obligation in his world.
Slowly again, the very foundation.
The very foundation of piety. If you want to be an incredible person and the root of divine service, you want to live life according to how you can serve God, how you can be your best you. It's the clarification of one's obligation in their world. Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing here? What is the job that is placed before me? How do I clarify what my obligation is? It's not enough to say, you're Jewish, keep kosher. That's never the goal. To be a good Jew, put a mezuzah on your doorpost, and now you've done it. No, it's not about putting a mezuzah on your doorpost or keeping kosher. Yes, those are mitzvot. That's a mitzvah. But to really be your best you, number one, you've got to figure out why you're here. What's your purpose? What's your obligation? And I'm telling you, it's not to simply put a mezuzah on your doorpost. Anyone can do that. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I to do in this world? And he says that's the foundation of everything. You don't have that, you've got nothing. When you build a house, when you build a building, if the foundation is wrong, will the building stand? Of course not. Without a foundation, you've got nothing. The foundation of being alive, of being great, of achieving your destiny is to know who you are and what your obligation is in this world. And remember, no two people are alike. No two people are alike. Talmud. How are we doing for time? Where are we up to? Oh my gosh, I've got
Okay,
5
you have 10
material
minutes.
left. I've got 5 more minutes.
5, 15, 12, no? 1.
Let's see. Talmud. Brachot 58a. If you see a vast number of Jews together, you recite a blessing. Did you know this?
No.
The number, by the way, is 600,000 Jews. That's a lot of Jews. Can you imagine the lineup for lunch? That's a lot of Jews. Okay, 600,000. If you see a vast number of Jews together, you recite a blessing. What's the bracha? Blessed are you, God, in whose wisdom encompasses all secrets. What an amazing bracha. Blessed are you, God, whose wisdom encompasses all secrets. And the Talmud goes on to say, for no two people have the same psyche, and no two people have the same look. That in and of itself is fascinating. You see 600,000 people together, Jewish people. God, you know all secrets. Amazing. Amazing. God, you know all. Now we have a comment on that passage of Gemara by Rashi. Rashi, 12th century French commentator. Look what he adds. He adds something fascinating. On the words, he whose wisdom encompasses all the secrets. Look what Rashi adds. That means, i.e., God knows what is in the inner thoughts of each of these people. Hayadea ma shebalev kol elu. God knows what's in the heart of all of these people. We are unique. We are preciously unique. No one is like us. No one is the same as us. No one has our struggles. No one has our choices for good and evil. No one knows what we're going through. No one knows our secrets. No one knows what we're hiding except God. Except God. And it's that uniqueness that we have that no one else has, which is the only thing that we can bring to this world. It's the only thing we can offer. And I'll finish with a beautiful, beautiful quote by a contemporary, Rabbi Trugman. Rabbi Trugman, contemporary, beautiful person. He's a musician, actually. So this will make a lot of sense to you now that I tell you he's a musician. He wrote a book called The Mystical Power of Music. Look what he says. Each individual, oh no, that's the title of this passage. Each individual has a part in the symphony of the universe. It is taught throughout Jewish tradition that each person has a unique soul and a unique mission in the world. No one can complete another's task for him or her. We all have our special contribution to make, our own instrument to play, in the cosmic symphony. Isn't that beautiful? You know what you are? You are an instrument of music. You are an instrument of music, and when you live your life in your best way, you play your song, and you let your music be heard. And when you let your music be heard, you are joining in an incredible concert, a concert made up of many players in the symphony of this universe. Isn't that incredible? You could think about that for the next 5 years and you'd still be inspired each time you think about it. At the very least, think about it for the rest of the day, okay? I want this to stay with you. I want you to think about this throughout the rest of the day. I am a musical instrument, and when I live my life the way I can in my best way, I bring my music to the world. I allow the universe to hear my symphony that I add to all of the other instruments of humanity. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful. It was very inspiring.
Oh, thank you. Questions, comments, or anything else?
Question. Am I allowed to ask? I spoke too much.
Yeah, of course. I want you to ask.
I want you to know, if you as a rabbi, an inspiration for me, believe that everything that happens in this world, Hashem wants it to happen.
That is a difficult question. It's not our topic for today. It's
No,
not our topic for today.
Because
And
what
it's a
happened
difficult
today makes
question.
me sick, and I want to know that Hashem wants that to happen. It's what's happening now.
Remember the source we saw at the beginning. God puts goodness and evil into this world, and in the middle, he places a human. There are bad things that happen in this world, and there are good things that happen in this world. So your question is a big one, and it's deep, and it's going to take us beyond this class. But
the Hashem is in the control. I have my grandchildren, and they believe it. Say everything. Hashem is in the control. I don't know. Such a sacrifice, such a work. For such a price, Amalek. So we fight in Amalek. But such a sacrifices.
yes, the battle that's going on right now is a very difficult battle. Yes. 2 hands went up. I'm guessing these are questions. Andrea and then Fala. Yes.
Hi. I'll keep my camera off for now. But
Okay.
it reminds me, a beautiful class, and it reminds me, I'm not good at telling stories, but it reminds me of a story I heard at Shul, I think on Yom Kippur, where, and I think it's Rab Zusha, he's at the gates of heaven, and I guess he's saying, oh, I didn't do enough in my life, or I wasn't as good as someone, and he's told, you had to just be Reb Zusha. You might know the story. I hope you do, because you'll be able to tell it better than I do. But it's basically like what you've been saying. Don't try to be someone else. What we'll be judged on is if we were ourselves.
Correct.
And
Correct. Famous Hasidic rabbi is upset at the end of his life, and he says, his students say, why are you upset? Why are you upset? And he says, look, if they tell me when I get to heaven, why are you not Moses? I'll have an answer, because I wasn't born as Moses. If they say, why were you not like King David? I'll have an answer, because I wasn't born as King David. But if they ask me, why were you not like Zusha? That's the name of the person. Then I will not have an answer, because I was born and blessed with his talents, and now I didn't live up to them. Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent, Andrea. Thank you.
I got his name right.
10 out of 10. Excellent. Fala, you had your hand up earlier. Did you want to share or ask or say something, Fala?
I don't hear her.
You're on mute. Okay, no. So we'll leave it there for today. And thank you very much, everybody. It's
Next
always
week we have it. We have it next week,
So-
yeah.
next
have
week we
class-
continue. Next week
Because
we
we
continue.
didn't have 11:30, the geniuses.
Yes,
but,
correct.
intellectual.
Next week we will continue our regular at 12 noon for this class. And I look forward to seeing you. Drop me a line or an email if you'd like me to send you the source sheet. It'll be my absolute pleasure. Okay. Be
And
well.
next week we
Think
have
about this.
11:30. Next week you have something about real Israelis.
I'm going to send out a reminder in advance to confirm. Yeah.
Because
In
today
the
I
meantime,
looked
thank you
for it
very
and
much, everybody.
Thank
And
you
it was
very much.
wonderful.
Looking
Wonderful
forward to
class.
continuing learning with you again next week. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving Hizuk for me.